Hi, I'm Lea Newton and I'm the pastry chef here at Claudine Kitchen and Bakeshop and also the co-owner. Today we're going to make Mr. Harvey's favorite dessert, which is the German chocolate cake. We're going to start with the cake component. There are three components to this cake. The cake itself, the German chocolate filling, which is like a custardy filling that has coconut and toasted pecans. And then of course we make a beautiful ganache frosting. So let's get started. So I'm putting in flour, the sugar, the cocoa powder. We've got baking soda and baking powder. Those are the leavening agents. That's what gives our cakes height, and also salt. And we're gonna start the stir, and that's just to get everything kind of incorporated. And the reason we do this step is we want the flour and the cocoa and the sugar to all mix together. The next part of our cake that we're gonna add is the buttermilk, the eggs. I'm gonna mix those together first before I add the melted butter, because sometimes it gets clumpy if you add it all at the same time. In baking, you always stop and you mix the sides of your bowls, because what happens is you get a lot of flour or sugar that gets stuck on the bottom of the bowl where the beater isn't hitting. Now we're good. I'm gonna add the melted butter in. At this point, we're gonna add our secret ingredient. I've got a cup of boiling hot water and 2 teaspoons of instant coffee, and I'm just gonna mix this in here. Now, this is an extremely runny batter. You may think that you are doing something wrong, and you are not, I assure you. All of my chocolate usually has some hint of coffee in it. It's not that you taste coffee, it just brings out the flavor of the chocolate, and that's definitely what we want for German chocolate cake. But it is the most delicious, most moist cake you have ever had, and again, it is the easiest cake you will ever make. So we are ready to coat our pans and get this cake batter in the oven. So now we're gonna line our pans. We're gonna put a piece of parchment paper on the bottom so the cake doesn't stick when we unmold it, and we're also gonna coat it. So I have a piece of parchment paper here. I'm just gonna cut it down to size. I just want a little something on the bottom because that's where the cake will stick, and we're ready to pour the batter. So I'll do that 2 more times with the other cake pans, but for now, we'll get this batter into the pan, and we're ready to put it in the oven. So the next part of our cake is making the filling. It's just 3 ingredients: the butter, sweetened condensed milk, and egg yolks. And we're gonna melt the butter and cook down the egg. And after it gets bubbly, we'll add the pecans, the coconut, and some vanilla, and we'll let it set and come to room temperature before we're able to use it to make the cake. And now we'll add our vanilla. Next, I'm gonna add our toasted pecans, and then the last component is the coconut, and that makes our filling. So we need to let this come to room temperature. It will probably get there by the time our cakes are out of the oven and cooled and ready to cut. So now we're starting the final component of our cake, which is the frosting, the most important part. And we're gonna make a whipped chocolate ganache buttercream frosting. It just elevates this cake a little, makes it not quite so sweet, really enhances the chocolate flavor for the cake. I'm gonna add my butter and cream, and we're gonna bring this just to a simmer. It's very important that you do not bring the cream to a boil. So we're gonna let this butter melt down, and we're gonna wait and look for those little simmer bubbles around the edges of the pot. And we're simply gonna pour this right over the chocolate chips. It will melt it down. So we're just gonna cover this with plastic wrap. We're gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes before we start using our whisk to combine the chocolate with the milk and the cream. So we're ready to start the next step on our ganache. It's been sitting here for 5 minutes. The butter and cream is getting to know the chocolate. We're just gonna stir everything together so it makes this beautiful ganache frosting. In 2 minutes, you're gonna have this gorgeous chocolate buttercream. That is our beautiful chocolate ganache buttercream. We need to let this chill a little bit and come to temperature. All right, so we're ready to put all 3 layers together and stack the cake. The first thing we have to do is make a nice clean cut. So now we're gonna pipe our dam, and that's gonna keep the interior of our filling inside the cake so it doesn't spill out. And there we go. So here's my filling. Just gonna plop some right in the middle, and I'm gonna get an offset spatula to help spread it around so we get a nice even layer. I've got my other 2 layers, so I'm gonna pipe my second layer, and then the last third is gonna go on the very, very top. Okay, I like to flip the cake over so you get the nice flat pan edge for the top. I'm gonna go ahead and dump a bunch of our frosting on the top. So I like to let the frosting kind of fall off the edges. So now, this is the trick to getting perfectly smooth, straight cake edges. And I'm just gonna hold it at a 90-degree angle, and we're just gonna scrape all the excess frosting off, and I'm gonna put a simple shell border. I'm just gonna do a little like that. We've got the last third of our filling. I'm just gonna pour it on top, spread it around, and there you go. Mr. Harvey's favorite German chocolate cake. So if you wanna make this recipe at home, you can find them at steveharvey.com.